Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another CI Chit Chat. I'm excited to be here and be in my office here today, at least for a couple hours today. Doing a lot of events and got to go do an event over in Illinois later today. I was in Ames until late last night, and we're just keeping the wheels turning. This is a CI Chit Chat. CI is carbon intensity. It's our suite of services here from Continuum Ag, helping farmers to quantify their CI score. Your CI score is your carbon footprint per bushel. We utilize the GREET model. It's from the U.S. Department of Energy, and really just helping farmers to get that CI score, establish a baseline, but ultimately getting farmers verified, creating CI certificates where it's one certificate per bushel. I think maybe we'll kind of dig into some of that and the conversations that are going on and things that are kind of circling around 45Z. These conversations are happening because of 45Z. 45Z is part of the Inflation Reduction Act. It is a biofuel producer tax credit for biofuels such as ethanol, biodiesel, sustainable aviation fuel. Biofuel producers get the tax credit, and they get tax credits based on lowering the carbon intensity score of the ethanol or the biofuel. And today, according to the U.S. Department of Energy GREET model, about half of the carbon footprint of a gallon of biofuel comes from the grain, the corn, soybeans. But at Continuum Ag, we've found that farmers across this country, on average, have reduced their carbon intensity score by nearly 2/3 as compared to the baseline and the default that is given to us by the Department of Energy. And we want to help farmers tell that story. And as farmers bring their low carbon grain to the market, the biofuel producers can utilize that low carbon grain to produce low carbon biofuel, and they can earn tax credits. Like I said, we're helping farmers get their scores and get them verified. We've scored over 308 million bushels of corn, and the average CI score is 11.1. So rather than be a 29.1 CI score, the average farmer, we found that their preliminary CI score is an 11.1. That 18-point drop would be worth about 30 up to 36 cents per gallon to the ethanol plant. So significant financial opportunity just sitting there ready to rock and roll is what we found from the average farmer. But we got to get a lot more farmers scored. We got to get a lot more data pulled together to prove that this carbon reduction actually occurred. And that's what we're here to do. And we're working with a third-party verifier to audit our project, get it all verified, make sure it's legit, because we're dealing with federal tax credits here, and lying is definition of tax fraud. So we have got to cross our T's and dot our I's, and that's what we are really trying to proactively do here at Continuum Ag. Interesting stuff going on within a variety of conversations happening from the policy side of things. Of course, we do not have the final IRS rules yet. There's still a lot of things that are pending, but there's still decent progress being made. A couple quick updates on that. The USDA had a request for information period that closed about a month ago or so. At least 240, 250 some comments, including one from us. Overwhelming response saying utilize the actual GREET model. Don't go with the bundled climate smart ag approach, which was what they rolled out with 40B, kind of an indicator ruling for 45Z. And everyone's just ripping on the IRS saying, don't do that. Use the actual GREET model, which is great. And that's what we've been using. The big item that continues to be something that we're going to be watching very closely is the Renewable Fuels Association's proposal to utilize book and claim. How we've thought about this up to this point is that a farmer will quantify their carbon intensity score. They will produce grain, corn or soybeans, and they will end up with a certificate, one certificate per bushel, like a PIC certificate, except for that this has gone through a verification process like ours. And on this certificate, it has the entity, some other identifying information like mailing address, things like that. But the entity, the CI score, where the bushel was created, what parcel or what field it came from, and the verification status. So ultimately, it ends up being that you will have a verified certificate, one certificate per bushel. What we have mostly been working on is that when you sell a load of corn, you can have the opportunity to sell a batch of certificates. And we are working on a variety of incredible pilot projects right now, incredible things going on that I can't fully disclose all of it under NDAs right now, but we'll have some press releases coming out in the very near future, which is super exciting. But we are proving the concept right now of connecting these field level certificates to the scale ticket. Okay, so when you sell your corn to an elevator or direct to an ethanol plant, there's going to be an opportunity to push the CI score and these certificates and link it directly to the scale ticket. So then it can be tracked and blended through the supply chain. It's not going to be identity preserved. You're not going to be able to prove it, at least unless you're going straight from the field to the elevator or straight from the field to the ethanol plant. But for the most part, you're going to say, here's my weighted average carbon intensity score from my farm. I'm selling you this load of grain that has 1,000 bushels, 950 bushels in it. And therefore, I'm selling you 950 certificates, one certificate per bushel. And the biofuel producer can ingest those certificates and they can update their carbon intensity score based on the grain that they bought from you. So they're buying the corn and they're buying the data. And I believe it ends up the projects that we're working on is that data would be basically an appendix to the contract, and it'd be a separate payment item, line item on the invoice or on the scale ticket on the payment. Don't know what the amount's going to be. Nobody's coming forward with that yet. It's going to take the IRS rules and making sure that that the IRS keeps with what was laid out in the law. If they keep to that math, there could be pretty good money to go around for everybody. But right now, we got to think about this as you're creating a CI certificate, one certificate per bushel. And when you sell the grain, you sell the certificate with it, and we help you. We facilitate all the data. Farmers not going to have to do anything to push that certificate onto the scale ticket. What the Renewable Fuels Association is proposing is to use a book and claim methodology where the certificates and the bushels could be separated. So you could sell the corn to the local elevator, sell it to the pork producer, the hog feeders, just like most of my grain goes to. I'm in Washington County, Iowa. So a lot of my grain goes to the pork producer. They could buy my certificates, or I could sell my certificate direct to the biofuel producer that is willing to work with me. And that really opens up a wide market opportunity, but also allows for biofuel producers to just buy the certificates and associate certificates to their grain rather than attempting to track all this stuff through the supply chain. So this book and claim possible scenario gets really interesting. I think that now all farmers that are paying attention, they can all participate. You don't have to be selling into the biofuel supply chain, and but you could still create these certificates and potentially be able to get them monetized. So it all starts with data. And if you haven't yet, go to topsoil.ag and at least run your baseline CI score to figure out where you are today. We do encourage you to get enrolled in our CI certification process. The deadline for enrollment, the final deadline is September 20th. We have to submit our first tranche of data to our third-party verifier in October. So the final day to sign up is September 20th, but there's going to be a rush fee in the month of September. So to avoid the rush fee, get signed up by August 30th. So we have 10 more days to get signed up to avoid the rush fee. Some major push. We're seeing a lot of folks that are saying, all right, I don't know if this is all going to work out, but the opportunity far outweighs the $7 an acre risk. And we're going to have hundreds of thousands of acres in this initial verification, tens and tens of millions of bushels, which is awesome. Really exciting to get the ball rolling here, get the concepts proven, create these verified certificates, and be ready to rock and roll come rules. So there was an article circling around, I think since the last CI Chit Chat from Secretary Vilsack, indicating that the rules are still going to take a little bit of time. He was saying maybe late this year or early part of next year, which is what I've been saying as well. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but hopefully we at least get a little bit more indication as to what the rules are going to be. Also, be sure to put any questions you guys have, toss them in the chat, or we got a small enough group today too that you can just come off of mute and just ask a question too if you want to. I've got a couple of them that came in as well, but something really important that I've learned recently is so in what was it, late May, the IRS put out some rules saying if you're a biofuel producer and you want to participate in 45Z, you have to complete an application. The application preliminary deadline was July 15th. There's a lot of ethanol plants that got those in. My CPA friends are saying, nope, it went pretty well, and we're sitting good. So biofuel producers got their applications in. Well, now the IRS is responding to these applications, asking lots of different questions and asking for a lot of information, including, hey, ethanol plant, how are you going to calculate your CI score? And how are you going to calculate your 45Z credit? I basically interpret that as the IRS doesn't really know exactly how they are going to interpret it. So they're asking the biofuel producers for asking them to do some of the legwork, asking them for feedback, and then they can ingest that. And I assume develop a common methodology for quantification that everybody can use. So interesting though that at least the IRS is asking the IRS is having conversations with the biofuel producers. They're asking for additional information. They are moving the ball forward to get ready for January 1 and go day for 45Z. Now, I think that there's a lot of work that we need to do to figure out how are we going to quantify this entire CI score of the ethanol. Of course, it's utilizing the GREET model, but the GREET model is the gold standard, but it's still a fairly basic tool. It'll become more and more robust over time. But for today, we got to utilize the tools that we've got in the toolbox. So we've been utilizing the GREET model and the feedstock calculator to quantify the farmer component, and we will, be able to contribute that to help the farmers and help the biofuel producer of their choice, help them to quantify what their carbon intensity is starting from the farm. So another little plug with that, I have Dana Jackson joining me on our full topsoil webinar tomorrow. Diana can put the link to register in the chat, but Dana is one of the top, if not the ultimate top person when it comes to creating these biofuel tax credits. She works at RSM, one of the leading CPA firms in the country. I believe they're the fifth largest CPA firm in the country, if I recall. They work with a pile of ethanol plants, a huge, huge percentage of biofuel producers working with RSM. And Dana is the gal. She is the expert when it comes to creating these tax credits. I had a conversation with her the other day. It was super insightful. We get really deep into it, and we're going to do that tomorrow. We're going to really get into how does a tax credit get created? How do they do an opinion letter? What's the data that the biofuel producer is going to need to present? Therefore, what is the data that us on the farm need to present to the biofuel producer? And really, really dig into the nitty gritty. So be sure to join us tomorrow. And like I said, we'll get the link added into the chat so that you can get registered and stuff. Oh yeah, there it is in the chat. Thank you, Diana. The other one that we've got coming up is our local Congresswoman Marionette Miller Meeks. She is deep into this in Washington, D.C. So we're going to dig into it from a political side of things on what's going on in D.C., how is this tax credit being looked at, and just about every time I give a speech at an event, the first question is always, what happens if Donald Trump gets elected? It's the first question almost every single time. And my response is, my understanding is that 45Z has great bipartisan support, but we're going to let Congresswoman Marinette Miller Meeks uh, give us her thoughts and her insight on it, plus a lot more. So be sure to be watching for those, but especially join us tomorrow with Dana. Really dig into IRS and the recent updates and how 45Z is going to work. We're a couple months away. Like we have got to get some things figured out. And would love to have one-on-one conversations with anybody and share nitty-gritty details. Okay. Um, like I said, put any questions in the chat. I got one that came in from Glenn. He says that he's enrolled some acres in indigo for a couple of years, but it seems that the payments have not been great. He's been doing mostly no-till wheat, cover crops, beans, and a corn rotation. Probably better option, or he's asking about different options and stuff like that and what's out there. So Glenn, the variety of folks have participated in some of these programs. According to some data from Farm Journal, there's been about 3% of farmers that have participated in a carbon program. Maybe that's gone up more recently, but still a fairly small percentage. And being involved in a program is fine and great, and hopefully it's worked out. Hopefully you've made a little bit of money, and hopefully it's been worth your time and effort. We don't know the final rulings from the IRS yet. However, in the 40B guidance, the IRS very specifically said that if you are going to quantify, if you're going to take a carbon intensity credit or a climate smart credit via these tax credits, you can't produce a low carbon intensity grain and have that same field enrolled in a carbon credit program. So you can't double dip the carbon, right? So you can't sell a carbon credit through a company like Indigo or others. You can't be in a carbon credit program and be in a CI program. And there's a lot of them out there, different products and stuff where, hey, if you apply this product, do it for 3 years, we'll soil sample at the beginning, soil sample at the end, and we're going to create carbon credits, and we'll pay you for it. That's going to be double dipping. I think even things like, hey, utilize this product, reduce your synthetic fertilizer, do it for a couple of years, we'll quantify the reduction, and we'll pay you, a refund based carbon credit. I don't think this stuff's going to fly. It's going to be tied on that acre. It's CI or a carbon credit program. Can't be in both. Now, what you can do, at least the way that the rules are going to work, is you can be in a cost share program and you can be paid for the practice and then be paid for the carbon, but you just can't be paid twice for the carbon. That carbon credit, the carbon reduction carbon credit has to be used by the ethanol plant or by somebody else. Can't be double dipped and used by both. So a lot that's gonna have to be sorted out there. If you're in a carbon credit program today, I still would not recommend just being hasty and trying to cancel everything. We don't know all the rules yet from the IRS and 45Z, but just be looking into what did you sign up for? Are you in an actual carbon credit program? What type of claims do they have on your data and for how long? Figure out what the protocol would be to get out of the contract if at all possible, and if 45Z or a carbon intensity program looks to be a better opportunity, especially a better financial opportunity. So, yeah, a lot that's going to have to keep being worked through. Because there's a lot of companies trying to sign people up for different programs, and it's still not quite clear, what how all the rules are going to work. So quick clarification on our program, CI certification We charge $7 an acre is the current pricing. That includes the cost of verification. That includes everything. Our access to our marketplace and to be able to get these credits sold. We don't charge anything additional, no additional fees later. The um, that enrollment program, you're not actually committing that you have to do a carbon intensity credit or this tax credit. You're not locked into any type of contract. You still own your data. We are just helping you to collect it all, but you own your data. You can opt in to be part of the verification program. There's no additional fees, nothing like I said that's included in the $7. And you'll have the opportunity uh, to attest that your data is legit and to opt in to release your data to the third-party verifiers who will audit our project. But even with that, you're not necessarily locked in and committed. If a different program comes available, that's a better option for you. Love it. If we can help to get your data over to them, we're happy to do that. We know for certain that we will be involved in a carbon inset project. We did this project last year as well. It's expanding for 2024. And we will be enrolling a lot of acres in a carbon inset program as the farmer chooses to do the carbon inset program versus CI. And in particular, talking a lot about enrolling soybean acres into the carbon inset program and keeping corn acres available for carbon intensity for CI. So there's lots of different programs out there when there's going to be deadlines coming up very soon. That's why we're saying what we want to get you into our program and helping to manage all this data, because no matter if it's carbon intensity or carbon offset program, a carbon inset program, a different sustainability initiative, a climate smart program, whatever it may be, it all takes the same data. It all takes the same data. We want to help to get it all organized, get it brought together in one clean, consistent system. And then we help you to figure out how to use it to the best we can and put as many dollars in your pocket as possible. So that's what we're all about. And we're doing that because I'm doing it for my own farm. That's why we're doing all of this stuff. It all boils back to I'm in the exact same boat as all of you on the farm because I'm farming myself. I'm trying to help my farm. I'm trying to help my family farm because we've got low CI grain. We did a carbon inset program last year. It was the only carbon program that we've ever done. It worked out well. That's why we're involved in it again here this year and scaling it up. I've been involved in these different carbon things since 2019 and never participated in any program until last year. It was finally time to pull the trigger, and we're going to be ready to pull the trigger again this year once we determine what is the best path for us to take. Again, I still think that it's going to be carbon intensity, but there's a lot of other programs out there if we choose to take some money off of the table and go ahead with some of those programs. So, variety of things out there, and just trying to really hedge, right, and protect the dollars that we're talking, because ag economy is not great, not going to get better anytime soon, that's for sure. And we got to figure out how to keep the lights on, how to pay the bills, and trying to bring as many positive opportunities as we can to our farmer base. So that's what we're all about. A lot of rant from my side here today, but hopefully this is all making sense. Why don't I talk in the last couple minutes here a little bit more about the marketplace that we're building? So Continuum Ag is working on a carbon or a CI certificate marketplace. This will basically act as a database of CI certificates, a database of farms, a database of farmers, and a methodology for tracking where the CI certificates were created and where the certificates were sold and ultimately retired to create the tax credit in the supply chain. So we have built out the initial version of this marketplace. We have huge projects already occurring with biofuel producers on this marketplace and with other software collaborators. We are talking with some investors right now as well to expand out this marketplace and build bigger, faster. So we do have a lot of investor conversations going on right now that we got to really rock and roll and make sure that we can deliver because 45Z is coming in hot. So we got to get this built out and be ready to go. So how this is going to work is farmers that are involved in our CI certification program, they will not pay anything additional to utilize our marketplace. That's fully included. We want to help you to get these monetized the best way possible. How we're approaching this today is that you can go to the marketplace and you'll be able to see the different buyers that are available, see what the different programs are, see what the different opportunities are, and you can choose a program and you can select how many certificates you would like to sell to that program. Again, we don't know if it's going to be selling certificates on their own, or if you also have to sell that producer the grain. That is still yet to be determined. At this point, anticipate keeping the grain and the data together, but potential for them to be decoupled. But anyway, you'll be able to see the different programs that are out there, see who's buying CI data, CI certificates, and see what the price that they're willing to pay is. You can choose who you want to sell to and choose how many certificates you want to sell. Click the send button. We push that data to that company on your behalf. So there's chain of custody, and the data we know has not been messed with, to really make sure that when these groups get audited, that it can be tracked from the biofuel producer directly down to the farm that these certificates were created from, help to avoid fraud and risk in this space. So we help to push your certificates upon the farmers, upon the farmer saying, send my certificates. And we track that all the way through. You get paid directly from the ethanol plant. I don't think we get involved in that at all. And we'll see what those payments are going to be. Obviously, the money's not moving today. We don't have the rules, but you get paid directly from the ethanol plant. We just push them your CI certificates and the reports to back it up, the verification audit reports. They don't need all of your individual data though. They don't need all your shape files. They don't need all your management info. They just need your CI score, and they need to know that it's legit. And that's the CI certificates that we are creating prove that the practice happened and that your score is legit and it's been verified by the project has been audited by an accredited third-party verifier. So, and basically within this marketplace too, it's our ability to document where these things go. Now, the marketplace is open. We're happy to collaborate with other CI certificate producers, other groups that are going to be helping farmers to gather the data. We would love to work with as many farmers as possible, but there's 5.4 billion bushels of corn that's going to be subject to this right out the starting gates, and we can't do it all by ourselves. So other folks that are helping farmers to get this data put together, we're happy to help bring these sellers to you, happy to help bring the marketplace to you. And we want it to be open and collaborative, an ability for our farmers to monetize these CI certificates, but also for others that are producing CI certificates. You can sell through our marketplace as well. We'll work out some deals and make this work for everybody. So it's all boils down to the value of the value of the data, the value of the tax credit is based on the legitimacy of the information behind it. And we're going to, again, a final plug for join us with Dana Jackson tomorrow. Get registered in the chat. Join us for the webinar tomorrow with RSM, one of the leading CPA firms in the country. And she's going to talk a lot about the legitimacy of the data, that the better the data that she's got, the more accurate she can be with creating the tax credits. And the better the opinion that she can put on it, the more certain that we are that the practices and CI score occurred. And that improves the resale value of the tax credits as it goes to secondary tax credit buyers in the open market. So the value of all this, the dollars that the biofuel producers are going to get, and ultimately the dollars that can trickle down to the farmer It's all based on the legitimacy of the data. And that's why we're doing what we're doing, to be proactive and get this data put together, because it's a lot of work. And we keep hiring people like crazy to pull it all together, because it's not all fully automated, not going to be fully automated anytime soon. It's about pulling all the data together from wherever it is currently sitting, get all that information into our system, so it can be verified, be legitimate. So with that, a lot of rants and ideas and thoughts from me today, but hopefully this helps and clarifies some stuff. Great to have everyone on. Happy to have further discussions on this. Join us tomorrow. Join us in a couple weeks for Congresswoman Marionette Miller Meeks, and keep monitoring this space. It's coming. We got to be ready for it, and we're going to make sure that we're ready. So we want you to be too. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next Tuesday on another Chit Chat, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Topsoil webinar.